Good evening, awesome people. Welcome to Kisumu Karache. I think it's starting to drizzle. We haven't seen rain in a little while, and oh, that thing's hanging on my speaker. Looks like it's about to rain, and this is good news because we've not had rain in a while. Now, friends, I want to tell you about something I just learned about this afternoon. Some young people employed in some Kenyan banks that are really doing despicable things. Part of it includes selling client data. Because I've struggled with an issue here since I've been here for a while, and I never understood what was going on until today. I met with somebody who opened up my eyes to what some of these young people do, the young people who work in banks. Now, again, whenever I talk about things like that, I'm not here to make you think this is what Kenya looks like in its entirety. I'm only here to share what is possible, what can happen to you, so that you're aware and then you take precautions. Because again, friends, Kenya is wonderful. On so many levels, Kenya, I would not be here if that were not true. And like every other country on earth, we have our own struggles. There are many, many areas where we can do better. But one place where I know we have not done as good as we should is the area of data privacy. When it comes to safeguarding information about clients and about patients and things like that, because hospitals in Kenya, like every other place, collect a lot of data. And recently, I think I saw the Kenyan president in the US. Somehow they've struck some kind of a deal to share data on Kenyans who access healthcare with the US government. And again, usually things like that are suspicious. I don't know the details yet, so I would not comment. I just want to make sure I know enough before I say that. So data privacy in Kenya is a problem. And I'm not saying this is just an issue in Kenya. In America, it's a major issue because, of course, they steal our data and then they use it for all kinds of purposes. You get like robocalls. I mean, they sell your data. Sometimes hackers actually pay for data. So this is not just a Kenyan problem, but I want to talk to you about the Kenyan version of it. And so I don't want you coming from diaspora thinking you have the same protections, same systems, and then you end up in trouble. So that's what I want to tell you in the next 10 minutes. But as always, friends, before we unpack this important topic, make sure you subscribe. You gotta get us to 100K by the end of the year. We are really trying, and your support means everything. There are people who have worked with us this journey since we started, and I really appreciate your support. If you enjoy what we produce, just subscribe. Just check. And of course, I help people with construction. I help people with buying property, buying land, architects, interior designers. My number is right here. All you gotta do is text me on WhatsApp and I'll get the time to call you back and we'll figure out from there. If it is something I know, I'm happy to offer. But if it is something that is new to me, I'm happy to look for information. So anyway, friends, I am Wonodede. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm a Kenyan American who lives in the village here, but also spent some time in Long Beach, California. I go back and forth, but I'm in the process of transitioning to move to the village permanently. It's going to take me some time, but I'm still putting the pieces together. Kenya has been incredibly amazing, friends. Yes, we have our problems. We have, like every other country on earth, we have our problems. And we are still working on them. That's just the nature of the beast. But Kenya has been incredibly wonderful to me. It's December, festive season. All that Christmas bring is already here. So, friends, I was talking to a young person who, again, one of these Gen Z generations, and I shared with her my experience. Something I've dealt with in the last 1 year in Kenya. When I'm home, I notice that almost every single time I come from the bank, within a day or so, I get a lot of strange calls. And there's been a variety of calls that I get. Some of them are just men who are calling about something that, of course, sounds suspicious, fraud-like, and all that stuff about my bank details. Something went wrong. They need to check all that stuff. So the every person knows what to do with those kinds of calls. But there's one thing I could not put my finger on. There are some young girls who actually call randomly, and they seem to know a lot about personal details with my financing and all that stuff. So when I shared with this young person, what she told me is that apparently some of these banks, of course not all of them, some of these banks have young people who sell customer information to young girls who are looking for people with maybe some little money, whatever. I don't know what amount is the threshold they use. But these uh, unscrupulous bank employees sell customer data to these young women. And I've been told one client goes for 10,000. So the bank employee gives your information, your phone number, your contacts, and all that, and plus whatever is in your bank. They give it to these young people, and then the next thing you know, you get like some really strange calls. And I'm thinking, first of all, who are you? And how do you seem to know so much about me? And even knowing that I was at the bank within hours or within a day. I never understood it. And of course, these people clearly don't work for the bank. So I was told that yes, these young employees look through the list, they sell your data, and then the young women that who suspect you have whatever threshold you have in the bank will call you and make propositions to you. My guess is maybe it works for them in some circumstances, but for me, coming from America, this was incredibly strange. But it's almost like just throwing a hook in the water and seeing what happens. Because oftentimes those calls, within like a minute or so, you know to dismiss them. But apparently this seemed to work because if you're willing to pay as much as 10,000 shillings, that's like about almost $100 for each contact. Clearly it's working for them, and it seems like it's an investment. So if they put like 10,000 shillings, or maybe even 100,000, get like 10 phone numbers, maybe 2 of them could be potentials. Because even on your WhatsApp, you get very strange texts and pictures and all the others. I was like, something is odd here. Because it seemed to coincide with any time I have anything to do with the bank, whether I go physically to the bank or I do something online. I see this consistent trend of young girls doing that. I was like, this is really odd. So they told me today, yeah, there are bank employees who sell customer data. Of course, for legal reasons, I'm not going to share which bank here is, but Kenyans know. Whenever there's anything to do with fraud, or whenever there are problems to do with something happening in the bank, Kenyans will tell you. Look at the comment section after this, you'll see. There are at least 2 banks who are always mentioned whenever something nefarious is happening in a bank. So I may not be able to tell you, at least on camera here, which bank to stay away from. Those are discussions we can have offline. But yes, there's some banks that consistently seem to have this kind of a problem. Now, maybe they're just the banks that are on my radar, but that is something that for me as a returnee was very strange. Now, the second issue with the data privacy has to do with whenever you go to almost any place in Kenya, whether it's a hotel, whether it's a government building, there are many of these places where you walk in and they give you a book. Even at a university, when you're walking in, they give you a book, and in that book, they ask you, okay, the plate number of your car, your phone number, your what. They take so much details about you. They have this black book, and then you drive, you get in. Now, I know where that's coming from. Kenya, many years ago, used to have a lot of security issues, but those things have been resolved now. Unfortunately, the legacy of that period still is around with us. In fact, when foreigners come to Kenya, they walk in a supermarket and they see somebody with a wand just screening you. Foreigners think, oh, Kenya is super secure. Those things don't work. At least from what I've been told, a lot of those things don't work. It's more of creating the impression that it is secure. But that experience comes from a period in Kenya where we used to have some really serious security issues. And the legacy of that period still sticks around. So when you go to these places, you walk in a building and you give them all the details. You don't know where they're going to keep all of that. That is data. My suspicion is, I don't know for sure, I can't say for sure. My suspicion is probably once they collect that data, somebody has it somewhere. Whether they secure it, whether they sell it, whether they use it, you don't know that. So my standard operation when it comes to things like that, I stop there. Of course, they'll take my plate number because my car is there. Whatever phone number I give them, I just make it up in my head. I won't even remember. If you ask me 2 minutes later, I won't even remember the number I gave them. My ID number, unless if they require me to produce my ID, which sometimes I just produce my US ID. And you see how the guys are like, okay, they don't even know what to do with it. I just give them my US driver's license, which is obviously very useless for them in Kenya. But the Kenyan ID is one of the most critical documents a person can have. In fact, in Kenya, it is one of the proofs you can give that you are a citizen. And once they get it, they can create a profile, they open bank accounts, you realize you've been voting even when you are out of Kenya. So my like I said, my approach is anytime I go to a place where I'm asked to fill in details, and if there's no verification, I'll just give you random numbers. Just make it up and well, because I don't trust you to safeguard data. And even if there's a data breach, I don't know that there's a system to remedy that in a way that favors me. See, like in places like the US, if there's a data breach somewhere, first of all, the company is required to inform everybody who is potentially impacted and do everything within their means to make it right. Maybe that is also true in Kenya. I don't know that yet. But I don't trust these guys to safeguard data. Even in the hospitals. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with all that. So all I'm saying, folks, yes, whatever you do in Kenya, sometimes you just need to be aware that there are some systems that can be improved. There are some systems that don't work as well as others that we've left where we used to live. So take care, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.